Hey guys, today we're going to be learning the Shapeshifter colour change. This is a colour change that's extremely visual and it happens in the blink of an eye. It's very fast. It looks something like this. We can take the Ace of Hearts and just a snap like that, it'll turn into the Jack of Spades. So you can see from that performance it's very visual, a very fast move you can do. It'll really impress audiences you perform it to, and it's also quite angle proof, so it's a nice colour change for any beginners out there. With that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so let's just go over what's actually going on in this move before we get into the tutorial. What's actually happening is, when I pick up this Ace of Hearts as a single card, there's actually two cards. There's a card directly below it, face down, and I'm holding them like this. And then when I pull the card with my left hand, I'm actually building up tension, which I then release when I release the card. So I'll release it like that. And that causes the card to flip 180 degrees and display the card that was hiding underneath, while hiding the card that was displayed before at the same time. So it really looks like the card is just changed in a snap. So it's really visual, and then you can drop that card down and display the card that's changed. So that's what's going on in this move. Let's get into the more in-depth tutorial. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you're doing this move is obviously flip over the top card. And a little something you can do is when you get the top card, you can just turn over your left wrist like this and get a break under the top card like that as a bit of misdirection, so they won't actually see you get the break. Because if you did it face up and you did that, some people might see your pinky just slipping under that top card. So if you turn your wrist and do it, it's less noticeable. And something you can do as well while that's happening is just misdirect with your right hand and show you've only got one card, and that just helps you get the break. You can then rotate your left wrist back up with that break, and then bring your Ace of Hearts, the card in your right hand, across and just place it on top of the deck like that. So that's the first bit of the move, and now you should have a break under the top two cards as you've added the card onto the top of the deck. Okay, so once you're in this position with your break under the top two cards, you want to bring your right hand across, and you take your right middle finger and right thumb, and you contact the top left and bottom right edges. So you're holding the card like this with your right middle finger on the top left edge and right thumb on the bottom right edge. So there should be the corners where the pips are. And your right index finger just hovers over the middle of the card and doesn't really do anything really. You can just put it right there. So you should be holding the card like this. You then want to bring your left hand across, and obviously your left hand will be holding the deck as you do the move, but I'm going to teach it with my left hand free, just so it's more clear for you guys what's going on. So once you're holding the card like this, you bring your left hand across, and you contact the bottom left edge and top right edge with your left thumb and left middle finger, like this. So it's pretty much exactly the same as what you're doing with your right hand, but with your left hand. So your grip should look like this. I'll just hold it like this for a second so you guys can see what's going on. Okay. So once you're in this position, what's going to happen is your right hand's going to pull up and your left hand's going to pull down. And you'll notice it creates this kind of spring. And if you let go when you're doing that, you'll notice there's some movement of this card like that. And that movement is created by tension when you pull the corners down with your left hand and pull them up with your right hand. This opposing movement you're creating creates tension, and that tension creates the rotation for the colour change. Okay, so you're in this position with your right middle finger and right thumb on the top left and bottom right edges, and left thumb and left middle finger on the bottom left and top right edges. And you're pulling up with your right hand and down with your left hand to create this tension and this movement. And what's going to happen is, as you pull down with your left hand, you want to pull down until you can't really pull down anymore without seriously bending the card. So it should look about that much when you direct it like this towards yourself. So you pull like that, and then what's going to happen is you want your left thumb and left middle finger to snap together and touch. So you want to bring them together like that. Almost like, so without the card there, it looks like this, like that. You're bringing down and pulling together very fast, and this creates a snapping motion for the card. So it's really going to make the card rotate like that. And this can't really be done slow. You need to do this at full speed when you're learning to get that snap motion. I'll just go through it once more. Your left thumb and left middle finger come down and snap together like that. And they should touch really, and this creates a really fast movement as it builds a lot of tension in the card, and when you release the card, it'll rotate. And that creates the movement and the very fast visual colour change. Okay, so when the card's rotated and you've done the colour change, you should notice something about this card, and you'll notice that the card's actually kind of changed position in your hand slightly, because when you originally gripped the card, you'll notice you were gripping it with the pips. The pips were by your right thumb and middle finger. But obviously when the card rotated, the pips are no longer there. The pips are in opposite corners now. Because when you rotate the card, as the card's a rectangle shape, it doesn't go back in exactly the same position it was before. And the problem is with this move that when you do it, some spectators might notice that the card isn't in the same position, so they might work out what's happened. So the key is, when you've done the move, when you've done the shapeshifter, you alter your hand slightly like this, and what that creates is it's the illusion that you have altered the position of your hand, not the card. So they'll still think the card is in the same position if you just wave your hand like that and re-grip. It'll look like the card's the same and it hasn't changed. So that's just a little tip you can use when you're doing the shapeshifter. Okay, so obviously to clean up the move, after you've done it, you've done the change, you've brought the left middle and left thumb together to create that spring in motion, and now you're holding the card like this. What you want to do, you just want to drop it back on the deck and then get off the top card and display its one card. And while you're doing this, you can just do a one-handed cut or something just to lose that other card in the deck. So if anyone looks at that top card, you can display that isn't there anymore. So that's all you do to clean up. It's really easy to clean up, and then you're left with this astonishing effect and this really clean and easy colour change. Okay, so we'll just do a quick overview of that whole move again. You flip over that top card, and when you're doing it, you just get a break under the top card like that while you're displaying the card that you want to change. You then get a break under the top two cards and pick up that double with your right middle and right thumb. You then bring your left hand across and contact the other two corners like this, and then you pull down with your left hand and up with your right hand. And at the same time, as you're pulling down, you want to spring the card with the left thumb and left middle finger, and they should touch, creating that spinny movement, and the card will rotate 180 degrees and display the new card. You then drop the double onto the deck and display the card that has changed while doing a one-handed cut or something like that to lose that other card, and you can display that that Jack of Spades has changed. So that's it. That's the tutorial for the Shapeshifter. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like, favourite, comment and subscribe. This has been Complete Deception, and I'll see you later.